Audio log, driver's statement. Date, March 3rd, 2019. Route, West Texas. L10 corridor. Recorder, RD, long haul driver. I've been driving long enough to know the road lies to you. It tells you you're alone, then it tells you you're not. And sometimes the second one is worse. This happened in March of 2019. Running westbound through a stretch of L10 that feels like the edge of the map. Long, flat, wind pushing sideways, hard enough to move your trailer half a foot if you're not steady. I was hauling medical supplies, not flashy but time sensitive. Dispatch warned us that there'd be cargo theft along the corridor. Nothing violent yet, just trailers found stripped at abandoned pull-offs. That's when I noticed him. About 40 miles outside of Fort Stockton, I saw headlights settling into my blind spot. Not passing, not falling back, just there. White freighter, clean, no company markings. He matched my speed for 10 minutes straight. Then my CB crackled. Westbound reefer at mile 256. You running solo? His voice was steady, calm, no static. I hesitated before answering. Most drivers would chat. It breaks the monotony. But something about how he said it, specific mile marker, specific load type, felt like he already knew the answer. Yeah, I said, solo. He responded immediately. Same here, road's been a bit bad lately. Mind if I pace you a bit? There's comfort in numbers out there. When you see another rig's light ahead of you at 2 a.m, it feels like proof you're not the only one awake in the world. So I said sure. For the next hour we leapfrogged each other, one of us passing, then settling in. Nothing strange, just two trucks sharing empty highway. Then he started suggesting stops. There's a rest area about 15 up, usually quiet. I told him I preferred lit truck stops. He laughed softly. Lights don't stop thieves, just make you visible. That stuck with me. A few miles later he said, you see that black SUV back there? I checked my mirrors. Nothing. No, I said. Been tailing you since mile 240. That was the first time I felt it. That twist low in the gut. I scanned again. Still nothing. The highway behind me was empty. You sure? I asked. Long pause. Positive. I don't like when other drivers play games over the CB. It's bad etiquette, bad energy. He sounded serious. A few minutes later, he pulled ahead and slowed just enough for me to catch up alongside. I glanced over. His cab interior was dark, too dark. I couldn't see his face, just a faint little outline of someone sitting upright, hands steady on the wheel. No glow from a dashboard, no movement. He keyed the mic again. Let's take the next exit. There's a frontage road. We can see if that SUV follows. That's when I knew something wasn't right. Professional drivers don't suggest leaving the interstate at 2 a.m. to test a theory. You stay visible. You stay predictable. I'm good, I said. Staying on L10. Silence. Then, suit yourself. He dropped back, not gradually. He fell behind fast. Faster than his earlier pacing would suggest. Within seconds, his headlights were small in my mirrors. Then, they were gone. Not exited, gone. Flat Texas highway, no overpasses, no sharp curves, nowhere to disappear. I told myself he must have slowed down more than I realized. Maybe mechanical trouble, maybe I was tired. 10 minutes later, my CB crackled again. Still no SUV. Same voice, but now it sounded closer. I checked my mirrors, headlights, right behind me, close, too close. I hadn't seen him approach. Thought you were dropping off, I said. Changed my mind, he replied. Safer together. He stayed tight behind my trailer. No safe following distance, no curtsy gap. I flashed my light once, signaling him to back off. He didn't. Then he said something that made my skin go cold. "Your left trailer light's flickering." I hadn't told him what I was hauling. I hadn't told him my trailer number, but he knew enough to make it sound specific. I checked the panel. All lights were functioning. "I'm showing green," I said. Another pause. "Maybe it's just me," he replied. We drove like that for another 15 miles. He began pointing out landmarks ahead of time. "Sharp dip coming. Construction barrels in the right lane. Debris near mile 271. He was right every time, which meant one of two things. He drove this stretch constantly, or he'd been following someone else before me. Then came the suggestion again. "There's a maintenance access road up ahead. No cameras, good place to sit for a spell." No cameras. That's not something you say casually. "I'm not pulling off anywhere unlit," I said flatly. His voice changed slightly. Not angry, just firmer. "You don't want to be alone out here." That's when I noticed something else. There was no engine noise behind his voice. CB transmissions usually carry a faint rumble, diesel hum, road vibration. His was clean. Too clean. Like he wasn't transmitting from a moving truck. I glanced in the side mirror. His headlights dipped suddenly, then swerved. For half a second, his rig drifted towards my trailer. Testing. He corrected it smoothly. "You drifted," I said. "Wind," he answered. There was no wind. I felt the first real spike of fear then, not because of what he'd done, but because he was patient. He wasn't rushing me. He was herding. I sped up slightly. He matched it instantly. I slowed. He slowed. Then he said, "Fuel's low, isn't it?" I hadn't mentioned my gauge. I hadn't signaled an exit, but he was right. It was under a quarter tank. There was a truck stop 20 miles ahead, and suddenly I wasn't sure if I'd make it there without him trying something. That's when he gave the third and final suggestion before everything turned. "There's a turnout just before the state line," he said calmly. "No lights, no traffic. We can park nose to nose. Easier to watch each other's backs. Nose to nose, so neither of us could pull out fast." I didn't answer. The highway ahead was empty, the sky black. And his headlights stayed locked in my mirrors, like eyes that didn't blink. When I stopped answering him, he stopped talking. That silence was worse than the suggestions. For about 5 minutes, the only thing between us was the hum of tires and those headlights fixed behind me. Not gaining, not falling back, just there. Then he did something deliberate. He turned off his lights, completely, at 70 miles an hour. 1 second I saw him. The next, the road behind me was empty, black. You just don't kill your lights at highway speed unless you want to disappear. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I checked every mirror twice, then a third time. Nothing. No glow, no reflection. Just darkness. I considered accelerating hard and creating distance. But if he was still there, if he'd just dropped back into my blind zone, sudden moves could make things worse. The CB crackled again. "You lost me." His voice sounded amused now. That confirmed it. He was still close enough to transmit clearly. "Why'd you kill your lights?" I asked. No answer to that. Instead, he said, "Exits in 2 miles. That was the turnout he'd mentioned. The unlit one, the maintenance access, no cameras. I didn't signal, didn't slow. I stayed locked at speed and stared straight ahead. Then out of nowhere, headlights flared back on, but not behind me, beside me. He'd moved lanes in the dark and was now pacing my cab on the driver's side. I nearly swerved. His window was down. I still couldn't see his face clearly, just a shadow. A cap maybe. The suggestion of a beard. He didn't look at me. He just kept his truck steady and keyed the mic again, even though we were side by side. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." Harder, like this was a negotiation. The turnout sign flashed past us. He slowed slightly, trying to force me to either slow with him or box myself in behind. I didn't take it. I accelerated instead, pushed the engine harder than I should have with that load. For a moment, I thought I'd broken free. Then he did the thing that still wakes me up at night. He surged forward, cut sharply in front of my cab, and brake checked me, hard. My entire rig shuddered, ABS screaming, trailer fishtailing, just hard enough to remind me of how easily 40,000 pounds can become a coffin. I corrected, eased off, regained control. If I'd panicked, if I'd oversteered, I'd have jackknifed across 2 lanes. He knew that. He was testing the thresholds. I dropped back intentionally after that, created space, didn't challenge him. He resumed a steady speed ahead of me. Then he said it. "You've got something worth taking." Not a question, a statement. I didn't respond. "You should have taken the turnout," he continued. "Would have been easier." The implications settled in fully then. This wasn't random pacing. This wasn't paranoia. He targeted me. Probably clocked my trailer type. Maybe overheard dispatch chatter earlier in the night. Maybe he'd been sitting at a fuel stop watching loads roll through. He slowed again. Not enough to be obvious. Just enough to gradually reduce the distance between us and the next exit. And that's when I saw salvation. Headlights ahead. Lots of them. The glow of a 24-hour truck stop, rising from the horizon. I'd never been so relieved to see fluorescent lighting in my life. He saw it too. His brake lights flickered once. The CB clicked. "Last chance," he said quietly. Then he veered suddenly towards the off-ramp just before the truck stop. The unlit one. He committed to it fast. Like he expected me to follow. I didn't. I kept straight. Didn't even look in my mirror until I was fully inside the lit fuel lanes. When I finally did glance back, there were no headlights coming up the ramp. He hadn't changed his mind. He'd taken the dark. I parked nose in, directly under a floodlight, left the engine running, locked the doors. I sat there shaking for a minute before calling state troopers. I gave them everything. Descriptions of the truck, timing, mile markers, what he'd said. They were quiet for the most of it. Then one of them asked, "Did he try and get you off the interstate?" "Yes." "Unlit access road?" "Yes." "You're not the first." That's when it got worse. Over the next few weeks, I learned more than I wanted to. 2 months before my encounter, a solo driver hauling electronics was found 40 miles east of where I'd been. Trailer empty, cab abandoned, no sign of forced entry.